You are watching the video version of the Marketing Should Be Fun podcast. We are so glad that you are here. If you prefer to listen to podcasts, you can find the Marketing Should Be Fun show on any of your favorite podcast platforms, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else. But most of all, we're so glad you're here, and I hope that you enjoy today's conversation. Well, welcome back to another episode of Marketing Should Be Fun. My name is Austin Savage. I am the founder of Savage Content Collective, and I am so glad that you are here listening today. I am back with our Chief Strategy Officer, Kristi Zobrist. Kristi, you are a new, just popular persona on the podcast. I heard from multiple people after our last episode together that was just like, they're like, Kristi was such a great person to hear on the show, and they loved your input, your thoughts, and so we're back for round two.
I feel honored. You gained some new listeners. My parents listened.
Wow! Oh my goodness!
We're very impressed with the podcast. So 2 new listeners on that podcast.
Were they like, Kristi, we're so proud of you?
They were. They were like, you sounded so smart, but I don't think they've ever heard me in work version. So
yes. Yeah. That's really funny, actually. Like that's such a weird dynamic, you know, and that is such an interesting thing that like most parents, I guess, don't get to see their kids do in that way, especially like as you get older.
How weird. I was like, I don't know how I feel about you listening to that.
Yeah. A little bit different for me since like my mom is one of our clients. So I feel like she sees me in work mode all the time, but you know, so it's okay. But I guess that's a good way to support, you know?
So we'll see if they listen to this one.
We'll see. I'm sure that they will. They seem very supportive. So that's pretty fun. Kristi, I have a very easy this or that for us today. I think the last time our this or that was about like TV shows or movies, like if you could only have or no, it was books versus like movies. And that was a really fun one. This one I think maybe is a little easier. So we'll find out. But every week, there are 2 days that always come up, of course, because the same 7 days happen every week. But Mondays or Fridays is our this or that for today.
Oh, so easy. Fridays.
I knew it. I mean, I feel like that is like the go-to answer of like, yeah, I mean, Friday is definitely the better day. But why? Why for you? What's so great about Fridays in your life?
Fridays, I work a lot Monday through Thursday so that I can enjoy a very relaxed Friday. Sometimes I don't work on Fridays because I have done everything earlier in my week. So Friday is kind of a free day. Fridays all the way. They're just way more fun. Fridays are just more fun.
I love it. I love it.
5-year-old says, he goes, is it Friday? And I'm like, yes.
Yes. Oh, that's so fun. That is so fun. I love it. I would certainly say Fridays as well. I don't know what it's been, but recently, like Mondays have been like my lowest productivity day. And I don't know if that's a common thing for a lot of people, but I feel like I don't think that used to be a thing for me. But like Tuesday through Friday are awesome for me, like from a productivity standpoint. But Monday every week, I'm like, all right, I'm just like struggling to like get going. Like I have the weekend and I'm like, it's just a slower paced day. So I think
staying up too late on Sunday nights?
Well, like, we don't have to talk about that.
I caught ya.
But yes, Fridays are definitely the best day of the week, at least as far as those 2 days go. So Good choice. Well, today, Kristi, we are talking about calls to action on social media, which is a pretty big topic, honestly, when you break it down. But I think I just want to focus in on kind of simplifying CTAs and how you use them on social. And one thing, when you first joined our team, I quickly learned that you are a tools person. You are like you're a coach at heart, and you love to like create tools that you can use to help people understand concepts better. And one of the first things that you showed me, Kristi, was your CTA pyramid. So for social, you like designed it's a simple graphic, but you designed this triangle that goes from kind of the easiest asks on social down to the most complicated asks on social, and just a tool that you can use to kind of filter out, like, you really want to be careful about how often you're using the ones at the bottom, and understanding what level of an action you're asking people to take. So before we walk people through this, tell us a little bit about the CTA Triangle. Why'd you design it? And then we'll go from there.
Well, there are a lot of different CTAs that you can ask on social media and emails in a lot of different places. And I found that when I was coaching, that calls to action were one of the hardest things that people were saying, can you make a list of CTAs for me? Can you make a list of how I could ask this? Yep. And so I started making these lists all the time. And what I realized was, if people could just have a list in order of where they should start and how many times they could use it, that this would be a lot easier for people to figure out. And so I started drawing this. I called it a pyramid for a long time. It is an upside down pyramid. So then I did call it a triangle for a while. It's a triangle, a pyramid. I don't know. Not an exact science.
But I started. That's how like the actual pyramids looked. Like they were just like upside down. That would be crazy.
Upside down. So this triangle that I drew, I started drawing it every single time I was on a coaching call. And then finally, I just drew one final one and really laid out what are all the call to actions that we make on Instagram. They can be used on other places, but it was more geared towards Instagram. And then what is the easiest ask and what is the biggest ask? Because easier asks are things that we can ask more often, and the bigger asks are things that maybe we shouldn't ask quite as often.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it came to be.
I love it. And it's such a great tool. And I love that your brain works the way that's like, it would be easier for me if I just designed like a final version of this and didn't like keep doing this every time, because my brain does not work that way. I'm like, nope, I'll just, it feels easier for me to just, keep doing this repetitive task over and over and over again. So I love that your brain works that way. But for the video version, we'll be able to potentially kind of throw this triangle on the screen. But why don't we first take a second to like walk through the different levels here. So tell us kind of like what's in the 4 different tiers and then why each thing is in that tier.
Yes. So picture a pyramid upside down. And there's 4 tiers in it. Now, I am a color person. I'm visual. And so I also like to put the color to it because I like to picture things from yellow to red, picture it getting hotter. So picture a fire being like yellow to orange to like a deep orange to red, because I really do think that the color kind of helps of like you're in your most cool up at the top down to your very hot red. That's why the colors are there in my triangle. Yeah. At the top, we have our easiest ask. These are things that people are going to do very easily. They are not having to navigate away from Instagram. They are not having to go to another screen. So they can either double tap, they can hit the heart and like something, or they can swipe through carousels. They don't have to move away from the Instagram post they're on. They're very easy asks.
Yeah, just absolute, like these are just functions of the platform. Like you like things, you swipe through things, but you are engaging with content in some way at that level.
Exactly. The next level is like a lighter orange, because this one, they have to take a moment to think about what they're doing. They have to think about, I maybe like this a little more than a double tap. I maybe like this more than just swiping through a carousel. I have to open my keyboard and comment something, an emoji, or I have to open my keyboard and think about something to type. I also have the save one in there. Now, recently, I will say the save one, we could possibly move to the top, because recently saves have become a much easier form of CTA. A lot of people have been saving things a lot more on Instagram too. So save could possibly come up a little higher. It's an easier ask.
For sure. I think depends on your industry too, the type of content you're creating, and just how value driven you're able to be, and like if people are looking for that on Instagram. But I would agree. I think it is a lot more common than it was.
It is, yeah. And then the next one, kind of in our deeper orange, asking someone to follow you. A lot of times they have to click not a lot of times, they have to click your username and then go over to your profile and follow you if they're on post, or in a reel, sometimes the follow's right there so they can do it there. But it's a big ask for someone to come follow you. To check out your highlights or head to your stories, again, they're having to leave the content they're on. To comment something of their own thoughts more than just like comment yes, comment an emoji heart, if they're asking them to comment their own thoughts, those are bigger asks that are harder to get someone to do these days.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And the very bottom of the pyramid, or the top of the pyramid if you're upside down, it's the triangle part. This is going to be if you're asking someone to DM you, if you're asking someone to go to the link in your bio, or anything by this, like shop, the products, anything that is asking someone to really engage with you one-on-one. Those are going to be in the very bottom or the triangle part of your pyramid.
Yeah. And I love that, like, that is, like, you highlighted the color, like, that is like red. It's like, this is a big deal. You are asking somebody for a big thing here. I love that, like, direct messages are, something there, because that's going to take longer even than commenting, like you've kind of shown with your tiers here. Obviously, things like, going to a link and engaging with a separate piece of content or a separate page, or buying a product, of course, are, I think, very clearly big asks for that. And I love too that you highlighted specifically that following and commenting people's own thoughts are, like, in that third tier of, like, big asks, because I do think that those are things that for some people, I don't think it's, like, super common necessarily for people to, ask for follows, but I do think that it can feel like a very natural thing to push. And putting it in that third tier is really helpful. Even just seeing the difference between asking someone of, like, what do you think? What would you say about this? Is, like, a much more complicated ask than saying, like, if you have also faced this, like, comment this specific thing, which is, you're already kind of filling in the details for people. I wanted to circle back to, though, something that you mentioned in the first tier here. So in that first section, you highlighted that likes, a double tap, swiping through carousels, like that, those are all calls to action. And I think for some people, that might be surprising, because, like I mentioned, like that is a functionality of the platform, and might be something that some people who are creating on Instagram specifically are assuming that people are going to do if they like a piece of content. So I want to come back to that place and just have you walk us through, like, what does it look like to ask for those, like, simple CTAs in our content?
Sure. First, I think it's a misconception that we don't need a call to action on every post. I believe that every post should have a call to action, even if it's just swipe through this carousel to check out why you need these 3 things. Just direct someone to swipe through it, because you don't know how many people are making it to that point that haven't swiped through. And you want to tell someone the next step. If you remember in funnels, we talked a lot about giving someone their next right step. And so calls to action are doing the same exact thing. We're just giving someone their next right step to do after they've read the post. And so we want something on every single post that we put out. Double tap this. Well, that just gives someone, you know what, if they got to the bottom and they liked it, they have more of a chance to follow your instructions than if they read it and just swipe on by. Like this post if you feel the same way too. A lot of times if someone's going to relate to something, then they're going to like that post if they've made it to that point. So we're not talking about the people who are always liking your post. There are going to be people who always like things, who always swipe through. But these are these extra people that might relate to something that after they've read it will go ahead and follow your instructions. We're trying to catch those people that want to do the next right step with you. And so we're giving them the easy, obvious next right step.
Absolutely. And I love that it's like, it's kind of that cascade of yes that we're trying to get as well, of, like, we're training people in some ways of, like, engage with this content, take a next step. And then over time, right, like, we're making it easier for people to take those bigger and bigger steps as time goes on. And as we're cycling through maybe those bigger asks as well, we're keeping sort of that small itty bitty funnel on social that's, like, moving people from slightly engaged to more engaged. And I think that starts with those, like, easy instructions, like you were saying.
Yes. Actually, I have a grocery store analogy. I don't know. Have you heard my grocery store analogy?
No, I don't think so. I really don't.
Oh, okay. So I have a grocery store analogy that goes with my calls to action, and actually goes with just being on Instagram. A lot of times if you go to the grocery store and you see a stranger next to you at the oranges, you may look at the oranges and look at a total stranger and say, these oranges look really great. Don't you agree?
Mm-hmm.
They may agree. That is a totally comfortable thing for someone to do at the oranges.
Right.
You don't look at someone and say, hey, go ahead and text me what you thought about your deepest thoughts last night.
Yeah.
This person at the grocery store is going to look at you like you're a crazy person and they're
Yep.
going to walk away. And so we want to think about people, about how many times we've met them and how many times we've engaged them.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the next time you see that same person at the oranges, oh, I saw you here at the oranges last time. These oranges, they look really good, don't they? Did you like your oranges last time? Well, now we can ask another question because we've seen them another time.
Yeah.
We're engaging people at different spots on social media, but we have to remember for the most part, we're starting out at 1, 2, 3 times that we've seen people. Those are the people that we're trying to get. And so if you've now seen someone at the grocery store a third time, because you guys are now on the same grocery schedule, that's what we're trying to get at Instagram. We're trying to get on the same grocery schedule. And so once you're on the same grocery schedule, you're like, this person grocery shops on Tuesdays with me. Okay. So now I'm going to ask her name because I've seen this person. And now I see that Carol is grocery shopping at the same time as me. And I'm like, hey, you grocery shop at the same time as me. And I'm going to ask a little bit more. So we want to treat people like that. And I think a lot of times when I've audited accounts, what happens too many times is we're like, DM me what you think about this. Comment what you did last night with 3 things of this. And we're not thinking about how often we've met this person.
Yeah.
We want to live at the top of the pyramid in these easy asks because those are the people we're meeting is at the grocery store. And once the clients that I've worked with started putting that into their mindset of, wait, would I ask this to someone I've met at the grocery store 2, 3 times? Then you kind of shift your perspective on how you ask that.
Oh, totally.
So I really love the grocery store analogy of like, wait, would I ask this to someone?
Yeah.
And does that feel natural?
Yeah. I feel like you're somebody who would actually talk to the person at the oranges. So I feel like that is a good analogy for you.
I probably would. I don't know.
No, but I love that analogy. That makes a lot of sense. And I love even just showcasing it like that it does take multiple times to get to that place where you're like, hey, tell me more about yourself. Like, we have that comfortability and kind of that back and forth that like, this feels like a safer place to take a bigger step, to engage further with a resource, to, explore what their offerings are, or just to take advantage of something that they are, making available. Whatever it is, it takes that time to get there. And there's not like a guarantee of it being like, hey, this is going to take 3 interactions with your content. But understanding like what you're saying is it takes time. And that is why you want to stay up in those easy asks as long as possible before you kind of get to those big ones, and really being careful with those big asks, I think is a crucial kind of part of that analogy as well.
Right. Because Instagram is our people collector. Instagram is where we want to find all of our new people. And so if we aren't staying in those top ones and collecting our people, then they're going to come and they aren't going to stay. And so we have to think about Instagram being our people collector. The places to get more personal are on our email list later and in the other places that are lead magnet, in places that we've now pulled them in. Those are the places that we're going to start getting more personal.
Yeah. So, Kristi, when do we use those CTAs from the 3rd and the 4th tier? Because it can feel like a dance, right? Especially thinking of the people who are like, well, I want to sell my product and I want people to take advantage of my course, or, whatever it is that they are selling. And that's why I think we often see, and have always seen with content marketing, people oversell in a lot of their content because they are just like pushing and pushing and pushing, but aren't taking the time to connect. But that can feel like a very natural response based on like what your goals are as a company or as an organization. And to put that too in like the nonprofit language for some of our listeners, I think that's why we often see like nonprofits like ask for donations all the time, because it's like give, but they're not taking the time to like step back and connect and, build that story that they're kind of telling and inviting people into. But when do we find that place for those bigger asks? What does that look like?
It's like you said, it's a dance. And I think that as long as you're making sure you are kind of staying in the top two tiers of the pyramid, getting in one or two of the bottom two every week or two is fine. It's getting them in there in a natural way, still sharing content in a way that's earning trust, but then adding in, if you liked this kind of comment, I've got this type of product that can add more to it. It's not just showing a product and saying, buy this.
Right.
It's really making sure that we can still connect and earn trust. But now our CTA is adding to the content and giving more value on top of it instead of just buy this, buy this, buy this.
Right.
So it feels more natural. And then remembering that we can also give calls to action to things like lead magnets and free products, because selling in email is actually going to be more successful than selling on Instagram.
Yep. Yeah. I love that you highlighted that specifically because, I mean, as an agency, since we started, we call it integrated content marketing, but people call it all, sorts of different things. But I love reminding people that like it all doesn't have to happen in one place, right? Like the goal actually of content marketing is that you are getting people, even if we're not talking about sales yet, but just connection, like you want people connected to you in as many places as they can be, because that inherently increases the number of touch points that they're going to get with your brand. Like if you are only leveraging social, there's only so many interactions that people are going to have with you and your brand. But when you add on things like email and things like a blog that you're sending people to from your email, or even a podcast that you're sending people to from social in your email, well, now you've created 5 opportunities for connection instead of the one over on social, which gets people to that place of a yes from a sales perspective a lot faster as well. But just like we talked about in our funnels conversation, is like there's so much opportunity on social to just get people to that simple action of getting something free. And that's so much easier to do in a space like social that's just so fast paced. There's only so much time, only so much space that you can actually like pitch something to someone, or like, be kind of thoughtful in that way. And if we can just get people to something free for them to take action on, well, then we can have a whole funnel built out that leads them from that free action to something paid, or to a bigger action for your organization or your business.
Yeah. And I think people don't understand the value of blogs or podcasts or this free content. I was working with a client of ours a week ago, and we were looking at her sales, and she has a podcast. It's your mom. Sorry, it is your mom. So we were looking at her sales, and she mentioned one of her products on a podcast. And we realized that because she mentioned that product, she got sales from it. We were like, where did these sales come from? She had just mentioned it.
You didn't tell me about this, Kristi.
I know. That's what I'm like, wait a second, this is your mom. So she mentioned it, and they had sales.
I love it.
And
cool.
That's where we trace them back to. And so here she made a decent amount of money just for mentioning this product on a podcast. And so I think a lot of times people don't realize that they're like, well, I don't want to be putting out free content on a blog. Blogs are dead. Or a podcast feels like a lot of work. But this got her a decent amount of money just from mentioning this on the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, that is the power of brand. This is a absolute tangent and is not anything important to the actual CTA topic of today's episode, but is something that I'm very passionate about as a marketer. But that's why we talk about, like, we've had my mom on the podcast before. I forget which episode it is, but one of like the core tenets of that conversation was that she's been doing this like content marketing for like almost 20 years. Like she's been building an audience and just sharing helpful stuff that is generally free for literally almost 20 years. And what that does is it gets you just the brand equity of people trusting you. And trust is like the most important thing when it comes to business and just like long-term brand development. And so tangent, but if you can create a system of content and can stay consistent with it, not for a short amount of time looking for like a quick win and then quitting, but for that long period of time, that's when you open up so many doors of opportunity. It is literally crazy. And I think that is a great example of it. So
yeah, it's an awesome story because it wasn't just a $50 product. This was a couple $100 product that just got mentioned. People took action. Yeah. And so what that comes back to CTAs is a lot of times we just think we have to go buy this, link in the bio to buy, shop, and we don't. If we're putting out good content that are lead magnets, blogs, if we're really watching, and I call it ask equity too. We're really watching what we're saying people to go to. We're trying to give them value, and we're not just trying to get things for ourselves and buy, but we really are caring about our people and earning that trust. Then it does pay off. It does eventually, you see that going to that valuable content, you're constantly leading them to the next right yes. Like you said, it's that yes. I forget how you just said it, but that yes sequence. And then eventually it does lead to a sale and you have this trust built.
So Kristi, this is a big topic around, calls to action and how that kind of applies. But I think like breaking it down in that way is really helpful. And especially for people who are kind of more tactically minded, I think it's so just very valuable to think of things as a tier, or even from, that gradient of colors of just trying to live in that softer tier of asks, of the likes, of the simple comments, of the swipes, and starting to incorporate just more of that language, more of that direction onto your social, I think is just like a really great action step for today. And then being careful and being thoughtful about how often we're in that red zone, for lack of a better term, to ask people to take those bigger actions. So before we close, Kristi, just give like one last encouragement for people on social specifically who maybe are just feeling like overwhelmed with it as a whole. I think it's very common on social, especially this is like the most common content engine that people are taking advantage of. I think that, people, as they want to start incorporating content marketing, like one of the first places that they're jumping to is social. And that's one of the first things that can start to feel really overwhelming. And now it's like, I have to think about like the actions that I'm asking people to take. I already have to plan my content out. Let's just close out on one last piece of encouragement to people who are kind of feeling that overwhelmed today.
Sure. Keep it simple. Don't overthink it, and go ahead and at the end of your planning your content, go ahead and just write like 5 to 10 CTAs and then put them in how they apply. That way you're not having to overthink something. You're batch thinking of them all at one time, and it becomes easier, because I think when we overthink these, then that's when it can get overwhelming. And let's just keep it simple in those top sections. Let's really keep it to like this post if you think this, comment if that, and start there. You can get fancier later, but like keep it super simple in the beginning. See how it works.
I love it. Well, a successful round 2, having you on the Marketing Should Be Fun podcast. Thank you for joining me again today, Kristi. Always great to have you.
Yes, it was fun.
It was fun. To all of our listeners, thank you for listening or watching to today's episode. And we'll see you right back here on the next episode of Marketing Should Be Fun.